welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, the podcast that celebrates movies and filmmakers that embrace the insane, the outrageous, the unhinged, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and tubbie who loves to shoot sedatives when you turn your back,
Alex Dandino. Griff, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what would happen if Russia and the U.S. fought as robots?
Yes.
Well, we're about to find out.
I didn't think it'd
today.
be like this. In my fantasies, it was way, way hotter.
Well, if you really want to know what it's like, you should come to our Patreon. I'm kidding.
That's where the hot is. That's where the
hotness is. That's where we come
Muy
together.
caliente.
That's where we come together. No conflict needed, and talk about movies. The Messed Up Movies Patreon has filled with cool stuff. We've got the Black Mirror podcast. We've got Tales from the Griff. We've got all kinds of fun stuff. It's just sitting there waiting for you to take it with a long-range weapon that was not allowed in the final moments of the fight.
Yeah, take a long, unnecessary flight into space and land directly in the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon community. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube Misfit Parade. See our short films, video version of the pod, short content, all that good stuff. We would appreciate it. MisfitParade.com. You can join our newsletter there, our community there. Keep track of us as we continue to make our first movie, Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole. That's all the business. 5-star ratings, reviews, lies, tricks, espionage, as they say. Also, send an episode or a clip to a friend. That helps us out a ton. Here we go. This is the month of my birthday. My fellow misfits, to celebrate the birth of their dear leader, have decided to give me cinematic gifts from on high. So Alex gave me his gift, What Women Want. Real out of left field choice. Sam Price, our dear friend. You've heard him on this pod a lot for New Movie Monday. He does the bizarre promos for the pod every month that you love. He came in with maybe the most Sam Price movie I've ever seen, Robo Jox. So, This is a 1989 Stuart Gordon movie, right? Starring Gary Graham, Anne-Marie Johnson, Paul Koslo. Here's the deal. Here's the synopsis as it reads. In the distant future, mankind has forsaken global wars for battles of single combat. The world has been divided into two opposing superpowers, with each side represented by trained champions. This is Days of Thunder for nerds. This is the analog Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
This is giant robots. This is a post-nuclear war movie. That after we destroyed everything, we're like, guys, that was a little out of control. But we're humans. We still want to fight. We're not going to learn anything from the apocalypse except for that we still want the land to be valuable and not irradiated. So how are we going to keep killing each other and doing violence? I've got it. Genetically made humans and giant-ass robots with bleachers of bums that can get murdered at every fight. This is such a bizarre setup for what essentially plays as a sports film, right? Alex, opening thoughts on Robo Jox.
Well, Griff, I'll tell you, our friend Slam said, I asked him what movie would you like to pick. He said Robo Jox, because that's the future we all should have had. Would have solved this World War III thing instantly. And that is what I had. That is what I got.
That's what I love about Sam. Watching the movie Robo Jox and saying, the utopia we missed.
The utopia.
Like how good it could have been.
I expect nothing less from him.
The idea of stuffing Trump's big fat orange ass into a robot to go like fight Putin in a robot with no shirt, greased up hairy tits. That does sound better. If I'm being straight up honest, that does sound a lot better.
If we're being honest, that's probably more ideal. I think so. Robo Jox, in my opinion, is 18 minutes too long. It could have been a 70-minute movie. It would have been great.
Which is crazy because it is a brisk
88.
Well, okay, let me say 85 minutes is brisk. Robo Jox almost never feels brisk.
Yeah.
This movie does cram a lot into a pretty short runtime.
It does what it's supposed to do. There's robot drivers, there's robots, there's international conflict. Whether they'll say it's Russia versus the United States is beyond comprehension, but it's obviously that. They're fighting over Alaska, which, as we know, you can see from Russia. Thanks to
I can see
Sarah,
it from my house.
I can see it from my house in Alaska. Thanks, Sarah Palin, for that forever. Look, it's Stuart Gordon doing sci-fi. Admirable. Not my favorite Stuart Gordon film. But certainly, again, it's just one of those things that it keeps pulling at its own threads. But it's like this big ball. Imagine a giant ball of yarn, and there's just all these little loops that are pulled out of it. And so by the end, it just looks like solar flares flying off this edge of this like giant ball of yarn. That's sort of what Robo Jox is. Like, you're not really pulling an entire thread. You're just like tugging at it a little bit. And you're like, all right, I'm done with that part. I'm going to go to another part. You just sort of wind up with this loose ball of thread. That's all.
Essentially, they saw this movie and said, but what about NASCAR? And this is literally Days of Thunder. This is the driver who's pushing it too hard. He has an accident. He sees carnage. He's scared. I'm scared. All right. I don't want to get back in. Dick Trickle's pushing his buttons too hard. Dick Trickle just happens to be some kind of guy who looks like he should be like a Russian plumber.
By the way, all of these actors are actors that look like the actor that they wanted to cast. Like, Gary Graham looks exactly like Scott Glenn if you like got Scott Glenn at Kmart. And then
Porno Scott Glenn, yeah.
Yeah, and then what was it, Paul Koslo looks like Trickle if you were going to get Trickle at like Ross Dress for Less. Like, all these actors look like actors that they were supposed to be. They're just not. And that's fine. Like, I have no problem with the performances. These are the movie, like, this is the movie we're watching. But they're all just like discount actors that look like the other actors that they were going to be. So either way, it's
let me ask you about this, because I find this kind of movie specifically maybe the number one kind of movie I miss the most. Like, they just do not make a lot of movies like Robo Jox, Blood of Heroes, right? Like, he's kind of bigger in scale and ambition than you think sci-fi and fantasy movies.
Sure.
That still feel real roughed in, right? Like, they're real kind of rough and tumble, like everyman movies, but that are just striving for a lot more.
Well,
like Robo Jox now would be like a too slick. It'd be CG'd. There'd be too much of it. The performers would look like CW people instead of like human beings.
To be fair, they make these movies. They're just not very good, and they're always on Netflix. Like, Netflix makes these movies.
There's something about like the CG,
but they're way too slick.
All the actors are too hot that just make them.
Oh, no, I
not
totally
the same.
agree.
Like, this looks like actual human beings that would have these kind of jobs, right? Like, this isn't like, if you saw this now, you would literally be like going to a casting director. Every single person must generate 3.2 fucking orgasmic rates a second, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how they make these, and then they just cartoon in the robots.
This is the other thing about sort of what is now popular versus what I like. I love retro future stuff. There's something that's really, and look, I'm not just talking about like, I like the Fantastic Four and Jetsons aesthetic is awesome, but this is another version of like retro tech that I think is just so fucking cool that's been massacred by, like I was saying, Netflix movies. The Russos did that Electric State movie, and it was sort of the same problem. It was the same thing. I'm just like, hey, don't take a thing that is cool like Robo Jox. They still look cool, but don't take a thing like that and make it. I don't want it to be slick. It should be clunky and weird and kind of like, it has to live in its time period. We just have too much technology now, so everyone knows they can make a better looking movie. Well, like, it's just the way it captures
this, like, these robots are like blunt force trauma robots.
Yeah.
And they're all claymated, which I love claymation anytime I get it. Again, I get it. People who are like, you're complaining about CG cartoon robots. Claymation. It is animated robots. I get it. There's something about the physicality and the movement and the clunkiness of those things. And the fighting these robots have just fucking sucks. And it sucks in a way that makes it feel real.
Yeah.
That like, there's something about this future that's like, their bar looks like shit.
Yeah.
Their rooms look like shit. I like the idea sometimes of future movies that aren't on a spaceship, and it's like, you know what? Things didn't get better.
The only thing that got close to this was Pacific Rim. Like, the actual machinations of, like, doing this. Like, at least Guillermo del Toro, like, put people in the cockpit and made him do this. And, like, I don't know about you, but, like, that scene where Gary Graham's, like, or Achilles, the character Achilles, is, like, walking out. You see him, like, the way that he steps on the pad and that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
This was clearly an inspiration on that.
Clearly an inspiration for Pacific Rim. You're like, that's great. Like, I love that. Like, that's a cool, like, upstream of this basic idea. But the slickness that comes from Pacific Rim is, like, I like that. I liked the clunkiness of Pacific Rim. And it, like, that's so much of Robo Jox was just ripped to go to Pacific Rim, like this, like.
Well, Pacific Rim is like the super cool high budget version.
Yeah.
And again, it's always cooler when it's robot fighting monsters.
It's also less political. Robot. It's less political because obviously, like, this was made in 1989. Like, it's very clear what the story is. Oh
this
yes,
the
two nations of the world, huh?
This has politics like strawberry chocolate milk has fruit, right? Like, there might be a hint. Right, a scent of it, but this is not true politics.
It's 89. It's 89. So, like, basically, you don't need to tell people at all what the actual politics of the day are. You essentially just go, "Oh, that one guy has an accent of a Russian person." Russian people. I mean, they even switched. We're
all in agreement. Russia sucks, right? Yeah, fuck Russia. And it's like
they even switched the color schemes, like Achilles, like the Confederation, the American people. All
we're
have,
the
like,
market,
red and white. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, the market. Like, good Lord, guys, come on. Like, again,
but yet they all go to the same bar after. So there's a fight scene at the start where they're Achilles is on his 10th fight. This is it. If he wins all 10, he's a legend, like Tex, his trainer. Him and I can't even remember the bad guy's name. Hercules.
No,
what's the Russian guy's name? Anyway,
Jesus.
some stupid fucking name.
Alexander.
They start fighting. Alexander, yeah. They
Real
start fighting.
Stupid fucking name. What a dumb name for a character.
You're watching the movie and you're like, is this the movie I'm watching?
Yeah.
Am I going to give 85 minutes to this fucking form of fighting? Because it's also like they have these dumb dipshit referees that fly around in like a little floating golf cart.
Yeah.
The rules of the fights make no sense, right?
Yeah.
So they have like a couple seconds to use lasers and missiles, and then it's like, that's it, fist to
That's
cuffs.
it, fist it out.
They start fighting, and the fighting is so slow and so fucking bad. But once defeated, right, Alexander's like, I'll do a punch fist, which apparently, again, I'll get to this in a minute, but he shoots a punch fist, right? And fucking Achilles or whatever is like, I can't just let it hit all these poor, sad people who probably have nothing to live for.
I could not believe this, by the way. You're bringing this up.
He jumps in front of it. Doesn't actually do anything.
Doesn't save anybody.
Here's the trick. His robot falls backwards into the stands, kills a shitload, over 300
people.
One of the things we see is he climbs from his cockpit and just watches in horror as people hold their charred and mangled loved ones. It's a charred teddy bear of a little boy we saw sitting on his dad's shoulders, right? So he killed kids, too. There's no way you can convince me, based on the physics of the movie I just watched, that had he not got in the way, that thing buzzes the top of the building and we lose maybe like 3 people.
10. Maybe 10.
He ends up killing everyone, trying to be a hero. And then the movie tells us he doesn't really want to be a hero. Neither here nor there.
This
is what I want to get at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I generally text you at least once when I'm watching these movies, just to like give you my temperature before we go into one of these. This was the scene, and this is early in the movie, by the way. This is basically the inciting incident of the film.
This is the first scene of the movie.
It was this early in the movie where I texted you. I'm like, this movie is insane. It wants me to feel bad for a guy who tried to save a bunch of people and ended up killing them. Not even like, oh, I missed. Like you fucking killed them. It is your fault. Squarely your fault. Without any provocation.
Had you not gotten in the way,
you would have been fine.
Just buzzes the tower.
It would have been completely fine. It would have been fine.
You go kill the guy, and because they actually have a really shitty start, right? Where Alexander's over like a guy he's already beaten, and they're like, victory for the Confederation, like, leave the field. He's like, nah, fuck that. And he kills this dude, right? And they're like, oh, they got another good pilot, another jock down. So there's this, like, he goes past the bell, right? This kind of thing they're building.
Yeah.
Again, if you would have just not dodged that thing and fucking killed him, the market, America, whoever the fuck we are, is doing a lot better, and those fucking bums are not fucking dead under a giant robot body. Neither here nor there. We go to a press conference, and the guy from America's like, hey, we have rules. Vaguely defined, stupid rules. That's a long-range weapon. It's a literal fist cannon. And the referees are like, it's impossible to say. Draw.
It's hard to say.
This is where I wanted to pause. I love movies like this that kind of build these elaborate worlds and futures in politics. I love that about this movie.
It's fine.
That said, has there ever been a dumber fucking kind of contrived system in a movie you've ever seen? Let's just imagine. One, we've gone to one-on-one robot combat. We have weird rules about how many times they can shoot each other. Like, that's not just part of the fight, that they have armor and have to get close to do close combat. Like, what are these rules? This is a thing. So these fights are going to dictate Alaska, an entire fucking state. The only people that come out to watch
by the
these
way,
are fucking hobos.
By the way, they never stipulate or say why Alaska is this like fought over territory. Never made.
Because then those Americans that can see Russia from their house, they're done, dude. Look at Ukraine now. Once you let them in, they're not leaving. They're dogs of war. They're horrible. But this is what I mean. Like, no one importance there. No one who watches this on TV is like, hey, that's fucking cheating. That's fucking stupid. And 300 people died. And the world's just like, our hands are tied. There's 4 guys in Foot Locker uniforms. Yeah. 4 guys who used to work at Foot Locker before the Armageddon said we got to do it again.
They were okay. That scene when not quite James Cameron is like arguing with all of them, and the 4 like are convening. It might be my favorite like peas and carrots side character acting I've ever seen. Is like the 4 judges go, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, oh, peas and carrots, peas and carrots. I don't know. Draw.
For those of you that don't know, that's one of the things when you're trained to be an extra. You could say peas or carrots or watermelon.
Watermelon's
and if
another
you keep
one.
saying it, the way it makes your mouth move, it looks like you're saying sentences.
It looks like you're saying things.
And you're not. So you just start saying shit in the background. Like, I mean, that's essentially what they do. And it ends, and the Russian guy who is responsible for hundreds of murders, technically Achilles, but the movie's telling us it's Alexander's fault. And he just stands up and he's like, ha-ha! And I was like, just think about today. What's the Robo Jox version of Stephen A. Smith? It's just up for a sec, like, it's cowardice. If I was in that robot, cowardice. And it's
cowardice.
Like no one's mad. No. They're like, dude, we're living. Because then he quits, right? He's like, that's my 10th fight. I'm out.
He tells everybody. He tells everyone in the press conference. He's like, I'm quitting. I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, and they're like, And then he goes home to the place where his brother is in the reading business. Because we also learn Achilles like, I might not be able to read my contract, but I'm no dummy.
Not only are robots determining world politics now, everyone's dumb, and apparently COVID is rampant because everyone has to wear masks outside.
And if you teach elementary school, you're considered being in the reading business.
The reading business.
He goes to visit his brother and his sister-in-law and their kids. Everyone's graffitiing his fucking poster, calling him a piece of shit. He goes to his sister-in-law's door, and she's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, is the air way worse here? And she goes, no, it's better. And I was like, what are we fighting for? Why do we let this... Yeah, like imagine if we turned like professional bowling on ESPN 8 into the macro form of global politics. That's the scale we're working on.
I had forgotten the reading business thing, and then that poster they graffitied of him that has coward spelled wrong, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Everyone's dumb. This is hilarious.
Yeah, they spelled it like Colin Cowherd.
Yeah. By the way, he's like, there's the poster of him. The other 2 posters by the Reading Business Brothers house are 2 pregnancy ads. One of a woman holding her baby. The other one who's like a pregnant woman with a belly with like a sports helmet of some kind. Is she promoting robots?
So I think what that might be is some kind of like keep having actual kids.
Oh, that's
another
what it
thing
is.
we add into this.
Oh, yeah.
Not only are we in a robotics arm race, we introduced early on what are called tubies.
Tubies.
Right, which are genetically made perfect warriors, as close as we can genetically, to these increasingly amazing human warriors who can then pilot the robots better. They're smarter, faster, stronger, whatever. The movie immediately invalidates that because they're all like crazy little children bitches. And the one guy, they all have like these little shitty Padawan braids, like little Padawan mullets. The one guy after Achilles quits, he's in a bar drinking through the alphabet. He's like, "Give me a julep," right? And I was like, "Well, that's the least tough dialogue I've ever. Give me a mixed julep, or else you're gonna die."
I'll have
it's like, all right,
an appletini. Like, okay.
I don't like them. It's for A. I'm still really depressed, manly depressed. But the alphabet's the alphabet. Also, I can't read, so how am I so good at alphabet drinking? Neither here nor there. What's his name? Alexander comes in to shit talk him, right? He's like, you little puss, liquid courage. Ha ha ha. And the little Padawan guy's like, it will be me who fights you. Saturday.
By the way,
Alexander turns around because he grabs him, and he turns around, and this is when it turns into like a real civil rights era movie. And he's like, it touched me. He grabs this guy's hands in the bout of, again, some of the worst karate you've ever seen in a movie. He grabs this super Tubbie's hands, this Jack Tubbie, squeezes his hands to where the guy's like, ah! And just crumbles to his knees. So I was like, so they're not actually strong? Like, they're so unstrong that, like, a 45-year-old portly Russian could just break their hands like they're Midwestern dads at a handshake off?
Yeah. No, it's
like,
just terrible.
This movie makes no sense almost constantly.
There's just like a constant lack of understanding of anything. Like, it's just a movie that exists with like constant shifting logic and constant shifting morality and philosophy.
It hides behind the form of a sports movie.
Yeah.
And I think that gives us a lot of cover because we feel like we understand watching a game. So we don't have to understand all the machinations.
Well, especially at the end, though, because, okay, the final fight. I mean, okay, the other thing that's going on this entire movie is there's some strange espionage where everybody knows what everybody's weapons are going to be for the next fight. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I don't give a shit about this. Because
how long did it take you to 100% know it was Tex?
I don't know. When did the movie start? When did they first bring up espionage? I'm like, it's the guy in the cowboy hat for sure. I was
you're like, that's the guy.
The only thing he didn't do was change his accent. I was like, oh, couldn't he have been a Russian guy? That would have been fun.
It's funny because I love Stuart Gordon, but this is just not a great script because they do that thing where he's like, pretty weird. They knew all our weapons. Hey, Doc. And the movie literally thought it was going to get away with, it's not Achilles. He's the pilot, right? It's not the Tubbies. They're trying to do this whole Tubbies are humans
Matsumoto because that's just not.
But no, that's the thing. The movie wants us to be like, is Matsumoto sabotaging his own robots? Like, in what universe is that good for his job? Take away his national pride. Why is this good for him? You're like, there's only one person it can be in the whole. It's not James Cameron peas and carrots. He's not important to the movie. You're like, there's literally only one option for who the traitor is. In that first thing, they're like, yes, we remember Tex's last fight. Dramatically outclassed by the robot that made all of the robots are designed on the implementation of that robot. And you were so outmatched. And somebody goes, yeah, lucky shot. And I'm like, you can't say that 5 seconds after you say there's espionage. There's no other characters. It had to be him from the first second he's on screen.
The scene where Matsumoto confronts the guy, and I'm like, okay, finally this is happening. The lucky shot, I'm like, dude, you're caught. Just come on. What are you doing? Also, they sent that robot into
Dr.
the field
Matsumoto,
broken.
Don't let him take his hat off. What if he odd jobs you or something?
Yeah, come on.
Be ready to defend yourself immediately.
Also, just shoot him.
Not? You flip the camera on. Why not turn that shit to live broadcast?
Also, him disarming Matsumoto, I was like, this guy deserves a good shot. Like, that is the worst. Like, everybody has it is the worst hand-to-hand
he builds robot warriors. He is not one. He's a fucking
That's why he has a gun.
Nerd.
That's why he has a fucking gun.
Yeah. So it's not always a good guy with a gun if he's a huge puss. That's what the movie tells. Sometimes you need a bad guy with the gun to meet a bad guy with the gun. And he just goes, he's like, inside of every old man, there's a baby. And he's like, I ain't no baby. And he shoots him. Dude, I'll tell you, the coldest thing Tex did, though, Tex holds the gun up to himself, and he's like, I was a traitor, and I can't stand it. And Matsumoto leans forward. He's like, no. And then Tex shoots him, and he's like, hey, meet the real Tex. And I was like, damn, that is cold as hell, and I love it. Again, it's fucking stupid. Because then I'm like, he calls guys like, yeah, it was definitely Matsumoto. No evidence. I just found him. He shot himself. And I was like, do they not have forensics? And like, we know that in the 80s. We could tell if it was a self-inflicted gun wound.
What they do have in the future is...
Do a lot of people shoot themselves like this, coming down at a 50-degree angle?
What they do have in the future, though, is absurdly conspicuous recording equipment that anyone could have seen. That he goes, oh, you had the camera going. I knew it.
Essentially, it's like R2-D2's mounted in the corner. And the light goes on. I can't believe Tex wasn't blinded.
And Tex was like, oh, you got me with the video camera. I'm like, no, surveillance got me. I'm like, nice.
Matsumoto can miss me with the espionage isn't my fault. When he designs the secret weapon that's like a solar flare, and he puts a gigantic sun button in the thing. It's like, you don't think someone could be like, some guy just installed the fucking sun button, and he doesn't have any concept of what that might do?
There's a lot of branding problems in the future, apparently. Well, I mean, like, technically, if no one's reading, who the fuck would know what the sun is?
But again, I like a future where people are kind of stupid. That people have kind of come out of this epic tragedy, and they're just what's left. And it's like, now you guys are in charge of everything. And Matsumoto's like, Jesus H. Christ, like, what the fuck? I was a mechanic. Now I'm, like, designing, like, the fight for Alaska. Like, this is fucking crazy. Tex is just like, yeah, I was a bouncer at a Hooters. And I trained jocks, and I'm just casually racist and sexist to everyone. And I was like, yeah, there's something nice about the future where there's still stupid, lame people.
Okay, before we get to, like, the end, which I think is the funniest part of the movie, I have to say this. Did you know that this was a PG movie?
It makes sense. We see a couple
There's a naked ass in the movie.
Yeah,
there's nudity.
Butt. This is our Americanness, dude. This is after the apocalypse. A naked butt would be nothing.
Well, I'm not talking about within the confines of the film. I'm talking about
is like
MPAA in 1980 was like in 1989. The MPAA is like, whoa! As long as you don't say the F word, we're all good. Show that nude.
Well, it's a butt, but they have a Padawan braid. I don't know if that's hot right now. And then Grace Jones came out, and they're like, "Shit, we let one through."
Shit! Pass. Anyways.
Yeah,
had to point that out. This movie's a PG movie.
Not only that, how about this? Here's a PG moment for you. The scientist who makes the tubies come in, and she's like, they were bred for something. You guys were accidents in nature. And he's like, yeah, that's what my pa told me. It's like, all right, cool. And she hands them both little cups, and she's like, I'd love your genetic material as two of the greatest champs ever. And they're like, what? In this cup? You ain't making my, cake out of my batter?
Oh, my God.
And she just goes, come on. And he looks at her and goes, ha, how about we do a direct deposit right now? While looking at Athena. And I was just like, what?
What?
Like, that's not a PG moment.
Literally, she's like, hey,
deposit now.
She literally hands them, like, hey, jerk off in these cups. Can I fuck that lady instead? PG. No problem.
Yeah.
All good.
This is the future Howard the Duck was mopping up. Was they're creating new Robo Jox. But yeah, they're just like, hey, and he's like, what if I just fucking bust in your tubie right now? I was like, there are like
Jesus
at
Christ.
least 10 burning ethical questions I have right now.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you guys are not going to score well on this assessment. And it's just like, well, that's the future. That's how it is. Then we start getting a little more racist. We start doing some of this stuff. You're just like, oh, okay. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What did you make of the ending deciding... Again, this is where we completely invalidate the whole world we built. The rules of the fight are just out. Like, they don't have, like, emergency shut-off buttons. The referees have no authority. What did you make of Athena? Seemingly, she's like, I've got a present for you. And he's like, finally, Bush. And then she just fucking jabs him with sedatives. They have a terrible karate fight where he flips her onto the bed.
Well...
And it's like, now's my moment to smooch. She knees him in the balls, and he's just like, ow.
Okay, so
what did you make of this?
Things...
Because this feels like the weirdest diversion of the movie. Why not keep it with the guy?
I think at this point there's, what do you say, like 20 minutes of the movie left? Okay.
It feels long. The finale of this movie feels so long.
It feels very long. Let's say for just shits and giggles, there's 20 minutes of the movie left when this whole thing starts. Apparently... Within the logic of the world we live in Robot Jox, the suspension of reality begins. Nothing makes sense. So she hits him with a sedative. Somehow he does not sedate. They don't explain necessarily why.
He's a great champion.
Other than the fact that he apparently, almost was Scott Glenn at one point.
He's got that human gumption that tubies will never understand.
So he doesn't sedate, so much so that he's able to fight her, like we were talking about, almost tries to have sex with her. She knees him in the balls, and then she knocks him out, whatever. She finds her way into the robot, all that other stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so let's just stop here. She starts walking through, and I was like, where are the 15 layers of security there would
everyone's
be to
like,
get to the
"Sir?"
robot that decides the fate of the world? Like, she just walks past people, and they're like, well, they're being weird. And they're like, yep, better let her into the giant murder robot. And it's like, what?
Well, she gets all the way to the cockpit, and finally one of the techs like, hey, you're acting weird. Wait a second, that's a lady. Tits. And all of a sudden, they're like, all right, we figured it out. Like, cool, thanks for cracking the case, Columbo. I guess
And
we'll...
they're like, hey,
I don't
stop.
know.
And she's like, I'm in a world-destroying machine. I don't give a fuck. She goes out to fight Alexander. Not James Cameron's like, hey, we don't have control of our robot. The referee's like, that
fuck
feels
off.
like a you problem? What the fuck?
That's the best
You have
part.
one job?
That's my
You
favorite
have
part.
literally only one job? We're going to fight? Yeah, we have ratings coming
That
up,
was
buddy.
my favorite part, was that whole thing like, hey, it's not Achilles in there. It's another person. It's a Tubi. What do we do? Who's this? Bye. And then just hang up the phone. Like, it's the weirdest...
I got to go polish my whistle. See you on the field. Crash and burn. And they hang up the phone.
New robot, who dis? And just hangs up the phone. Like, it's so weird.
It's so bizarre because this is also the moment where she's getting the instructions for the new weapon, and we find out Tex did it, and they grab him, and he's like, I'll see you hang for this. And he's like, no, you won't. You'll see me in hell. He does 2 punches, runs, and just takes a dive out of the broken station to the hard cement floor. He literally, because his name is Tex, just goes, Geronimo! Just fucking stuck.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie is going so fast now. For a movie that had no narrative propulsion, at the end they're like, warp speed! It's like, damn, take it. Like, some of these moments have to matter, guys. Slow down. Take a breather.
So we're on the battlefield. She almost gets killed. He takes the land speeder out there, and then
Athena
proceeds
gets her fucking shit rocked.
just destroyed.
Yeah. Essentially what happens is Alexander is going to kill Athena. The referees come in and they're like, this fight's already over. Stop. And the fat Russian guy who looks like Danny DeVito's penguin, but a Russian, he's like, don't be a fool. We have the fight. Stop. And he's like, fuck you. And he turns off the fucking screen. He kills the referees, or tries to. He smashes their ship. Somehow we're allowed illegal substitutions. As he's just like, you're a lot of things, pal. Achilles says this, but you're no coward. I'm going to get in this Robo Jox and beat your ass. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's unfair. Like, he just beat a woman concussed and unconscious, and now a brand new fighter gets in? He's already taken damage. This sucks. He gets in, they start fighting. This is where one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in a movie occurs. They get in and they start kind of fighting, and Achilles decides, I'm going to launch in space for the poorly decided Superman 4 A Quest for Peace shot.
Right.
And Alexander follows him, blows his foot engine off, and as they're flying through the world, they just land right back where the fight happened, where the fist from the previous massacre has not been cleaned up yet. They just leave it on the field. Let me ask you this. Why did Achilles go to space? He had no attack plan. What was the plan?
Know. It was like,
I thought maybe it was
breather?
Let's lead him somewhere safe to fight, like Dragon Ball Z or something. No, they landed the exact same spot.
I thought it was going to be like a thing where he knew that maybe Alexander's one didn't have thrusters and like just floated off into space. I'm like, oh shit,
literally
cold-blooded.
flew into the battlefield, and they're like, oh, he's showing off.
I
was like, what is this?
I didn't get it.
Why did they just desperately have budget to burn? Like, what was this decision?
I bet, yeah, did they just get to the end and they're like, I don't know, we got like $250,000 left. Like, fucking, let's throw it down the
see a quest for peace and be like, holy shit, dude, they cracked the code. This is going to be the best Superman movie.
It all comes down to this insane, I checked it too. It's like 8 minutes. It's like 6 to 8 minutes of this horrible hand-to-hand combat that ends essentially with us all going, you know what, we should go do war again. War was much better than this.
Yeah,
this is so bad.
Achilles gets whooped. He gets out. He hotwires the fist from the previous massacre. It causes the Russian mech
the Russian thing explodes, and he survives.
In horrendous ways. In a completely inexplicable way with just one charred eyeball. He gets out and they start fighting, right? This is the worst fucking fighting ever committed to cinema. It is atrocious and bad, and it goes on as long as the fist fight and they live, it feels like. At the end, fucking Achilles is like, we can live! And he's like,
we can live!
We're dead. We're Robo Jox. We're already dead. And he's just like, ugh! And he throws the thing and he's like, we can live! And the Russian guy picks up a rock and he's like, nah, and then his rage turns into what seems like lust. He drops the rock and they smile and do thumbs up. And I was like, Achilles, pause, Achilles. If you're not blaming yourself for the hundreds dead, it is the guy you're now thumbs upping, the guy who tried to kill a referee, who beat your to-be girlfriend senseless. Why are you thumbs upping him? It's like, you know what happens tomorrow? You guys retire and thumbs each other's ass, and they just bring in more people to keep fighting. You've done nothing. You've won nothing. Your only reason for doing this was to stop a horrifying monster, and now you're just thumbs upping him?
It makes so little sense. And it ends
This is the worst final image in a movie I've seen in ages.
It is. Again, that final. So the thumbs up thing happens, the movie cuts. I have to say this again. The main character of this movie fucked up so bad he brutally murdered 300 people, like in front of everyone on television, in front of the entire world. He could have just let it go. And he thought he was saving people and then actually killed them. He killed the people he was trying to save. It makes no sense. The whole movie is invalidated at that moment.
The thumbs up moment is kind of this microcosm of, this is a movie that is about a post-World War, right? Where we are reinventing things on the fly. We have come back to kind of a more noble knight versus knight combat, right? That takes the shape of one of the most bizarre sports movies of all time. The fact that at the end they thumbs up after the movie we've watched, after Tex dies, Masamoto dies, this is all part of the conflict, right? And they just thumbs up. I was like, this is a movie that had so fucking little to say, right? This movie was an excuse to do cool claymation robots because we all like giant robots.
Yeah.
It has the set dressing of a post-World War science fiction film. This movie has nothing to say. This movie has as much to say as Will Ferrell's Semi-Pro and almost the exact same narrative structure.
Yes.
But
actually, the end of the movie... I am
a sucker for this kind of movie.
The end of the movie is actually just Talladega Nights ending with like way less entertainment value.
Yeah, it's days. This is literally a sports movie, but somehow dumber. But there's something I am so nostalgic for with this kind of film.
Of course.
Right? These like big, well-made Shaggy Dog movies. Like now everything is just too slick. It's too for the algorithm. It's too saves the catted, right? This is like a real hairy movie with some exceptional elements. And I feel like when we get movies this hairy now, there's no good elements in them. Like they're just the bottoms out. They're no budget, whatever they become, right? I miss this kind of like mid-size film. Like there was something magical about these. And when I saw this movie as a younger guy, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, robots. That's all I wanted. I was like, Russia bad, robots. They grow women in labs to have sex with. I was like, this is great. Hugely into this. But the movie has nothing to say.
Miss. But, I mean, the spirit
But maybe
of
this is what Sam likes about
awesome.
it, right? What if Sam's right and our world was just as vacuous as Robo Jox and we could just grow humans in labs to have sex with? Like, doesn't that feel like peace on Earth would reign everywhere? Like, we could all just order a to-be bride? Instead of like a mail order, it's just like a to-be bride or a to-be husband?
Yeah,
and everyone, there's no incels, like no one's alone. Everyone's okay.
I don't know how comfortable I am validating Sam's point of view on this, but I get what you're saying.
I feel like Sam, for as contrarian as he is, maybe he sees just through the lines. Maybe a man who walks between raindrops, as Sam Price does, sees a lane that the rest of us can't see because we're too in the middle of the deluge.
Perhaps.
But imagine if our politics were as simple as fighting robots in one espionage Texan. Instead of, hey, we're going to destroy the entire society and fabric of the greatest constitutional republic ever known. We're just going to do nefarious, horrible shit. This is as bad as it gets, and then we all just live in polluted areas that cost too much and suck. That's kind of something we already feel like we have a little bit of, right? So I was like, maybe there's just some of the bad stuff gets knocked down a lot, and some of the bad stuff isn't much worse. That maybe this is better than where we're heading. I kind of see Sam's point.
I mean, again, I get what you're saying. Having a hard time validating Sam, but I understand. Yes.
There is a level when you find yourself on the same side of an argument as Sam, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Things have changed. Sometimes it's like Chris Pratt in the Velociraptor tank. You're like, this isn't going to work. You just put a hand up, and somehow, miraculously, everything's fine.
I've been reading today about the epistemology. There's basically like differing philosophies on how philosophy is like Plato-based philosophy on like the collective unknown, and Aristotle was like, no, we collect our experiences, and that's how philosophy is built, and that kind of thing. Sam, I feel, just bases his philosophy on just the ethereal unknown, and I appreciate that.
Sam has never seen a fact that he can't pretend is an unknown. That's Sam in a nutshell.
Again, that's
all right,
contrarian,
Alex.
And that's Sam. I love you.
That's Sam. I love you, Sam. Thank you for the gift. Alex, what's the most messed up moment in Robo Jox?
The fact that it took 8 minutes for these guys to finally give themselves a thumbs up.
Yeah, besides somehow this fight choreographer got a job.
You know, the one thing that I thought was really messed up is like, this isn't that kind of movie necessarily. Messed up, I'd say, is definitely the like reveal, quote unquote, that the Texas guy is a fucking spy. Second only to Alexander at the bar taking a shot. It takes like 10 seconds for him to shoot the entire thing of vodka. It's like, what is
That's
he
just
drinking?
that Russian "we live for pain" drinking.
It's
like,
that
he wants to
big.
feel every second. It looks
What's your
weak,
most?
but I think it's a pain thing. If it were me, I would say it's when the scientist who's like, I'm building better humans, specifically bred to help us win this war. We can't fall behind. So not only the idea that we are cloning humans specifically for a purpose. Athena even says, like, I was bred for a purpose, even if it's bad. You were just an accident. The fact that this doctor's like, treat these people right. These are essentially my youngsters. Treat them right. Give them training. P.S. Can I have some of your nut in a cup? And they both look at her and just go, how about a direct deposit? Right in front of a room full of the tubies. And in that moment, every tubie in their post-karate fucking sweat and glisten is looking over like, Jesus Christ, is she going to say yes?
Oh.
Like, once we decide to breed perfect humans, specifically to kill and murder everything, there had to be a part of Athena that's like, oh God, no, this doctor's going to turn me into a farm. That's fucked up.
Actually, okay, I have to change mine. There's a scene where the tubies have to do like the aggro crag from Guts.
Oh, that was awesome, dude.
That's my most messed up moment, because I'm like, these guys suck. We are fucked if this is the future of humanity.
Dude, the first one who's like the alpha tubie gets his hand crushed by what looks like a Russian PE substitute. We were dead anyways. This lady stinks at her job. At the end, she's like,
destroyed.
Athena, I know you think you're doing right. You're invalidating my work. And I was like, no, the fact that your best fighter has hands like a small bird.
How about
invalidates your work?
Athena's like climbing up that thing, and then like the KY jelly like P Diddy's its way out, and you're just like, no.
One of them was hot. It was like it was built by Data from the Goonies. It just had fucking booty traps everywhere.
Dude, it was ridiculous.
Great. Thank you, Sam, for Robo Jox. This was a fun one to revisit. Again, I am nostalgic for big, middle, shaggy genre movies that I don't think we get enough. It was great. All right, we've got 2 more gifts from my fellow, or 1 more, because we did Dawn of the Dead from Heath. Tempopo by John. Again, my writing partner, John, really pushing the boundaries of what a messed up movie is. Excited to talk about that one. This will be a first-time watch for me, which is always exciting. Guys, please go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon. Please subscribe to the YouTube Misfit Parades. Please go to misfitparade.com and follow us as we complete our first movie, Mr. Cream Jean's Hidey Hole. If you guys would be so kind, let a friend know. Send them an episode. Send them a clip. That would mean the world to us and help us grow the show. More than anything, thank you for